Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 24 of What If Kaguya Was Naruto's Mother. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune because after this I'm going to be posting a brand new episode of What If Naruto Returned Different After His Training Trip. So stay in tune for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And also, later on, I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was a God Amongst Man over on Anime King 2. I already posted a new episode of What If Orochimaru Was Naruto's father, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And also comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So, the last part we left off, Anko, Sarutobi and Jiraiya and Naruto were in the office. As Naruto studied the seal, as he saw the entire seal in array, as he gave Anko 3 options, as Anko picked the third one to remove the part of the seal in array that activate and is attached to her feelings, so the entire seal would be dead, and that is the fastest, as Anko quickly accepted that. Kushina then talked to Naruto, as Kushina didn't want to stay in and just be a housewife, as Naruto knew where she was coming from. It was the same thing that Minami went through when she just had her child, but Naruto knew that this is a grave mistake and Kushina doesn't want to do this. She's just not used to it yet. After talking with her, she realized her mistake, as she apologized and told him that she was sorry as she couldn't leave her baby. Tsunade went to Uzu along with Kushina as a festival was keeping, as Kushina reunited with her mother and her brother and the others. As Kai told Tsunade that he was her great-grandfather, it seems like Mito never talked to her about him, as Kai told her that he had to witness all of the deaths from everyone who died here at Uzu. After a long talk, Tsunade saw that her problems were not that much great, as Kai went through a lot as well. He had to witness and go to every funeral. Tsunade came back home as everyone was happy, as they were surprised because seeing that Minato and the others thought that she would probably take this chance to run away. As Tsunade went to visit Miki, as her mother was beyond happy that she was here. Tsunade didn't understand how her mother was still alive. Due to her medical experience and the charts, her mother should be dead by now. But it seemed like someone stopped that from happening right away, as she could only guess it was Naruto, as she thanked him. As Tsunade spent the rest of her time, 10 days with her mother catching up on everything, but after those 10 days, her mother passed. As Tsunade was at her bed, as Miki died with a smile on her face. We then skipped to a cave as we had Konan, Nagato, and also Obito, who was going by Madara, as they want to build the Akatsuki, as Obito had a member in his mind, Kakazu. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. The third birthday of the Hyuga clan heiress was the first time that Koji would be invited to a major event, as Koji was also nearing 3. He had met the heiress before. Her name was Hinata. Unlike previous birthdays, the Hyuga saw the opportunity to introduce their heiress to the other clans. The Hyuga had invited multiple people to attend, many of them having shinobi background. Minato and Kushina had obviously been invited along with Koji. But for some reason, so was Naruto. I didn't know that I was close to the Hyuga clan, Naruto muttered, very sarcastically. I suppose that it would be rude if I declined the invitation, he asked his son, as both of them were in the Hokage's office. Minato swallowed the part of a sandwich that he was chewing, as he looked at Naruto. As he picked up the piece of paper, it addressed specifically, "Invite you as well, Dad." So unless you had a legitimate reason for not going, yes, they would, Minato said with a frown. But why would you want to go, Dad? Do you have something to do? Why would they invite me in the first place, Naruto said. You're the wielder of a rare bloodline. They want to know about you as well, and to also know about Swift Release. I wouldn't be surprised if they had wanted to meet you for a while now. Now, why don't you want to go? Asked Minato. Can't you just go and tell them whatever they wish to know, Naruto said. And say what? That I can go really fast? That was most of what Minato can do with Swift Release, after all the training that his father had given him. He had the ability to move incredibly fast, but now he had to move and how he interact with the rest of the world at those speeds. Needless to say, he was far away from mastering the technique. Now, why don't you want to go, Minato asked. Well, there isn't a whole lot that you don't know, said Naruto. Dad, stop avoiding the question. Why don't you want to go, Minato asked. Naruto sighed as he tapped Minato's desk. Minato nodded as he flicked his hand as the envoys vacated the room as he secured it. Okay, now what is it? Do you believe that a Hyuga can see through your disguise? Naruto shook his head. No, there's no chance of that happening. So, if you aren't afraid that your disguise would be discovered, why are you so afraid to attend the celebration? There's a reason I haven't made any attempt to connect with the Hyuga clan, Minato, despite my relationship with them, Naruto said. The Kate Bird seal, Minato said. As Naruto nodded. The Hyuga clan didn't always have that seal on their branch from the members, Naruto explained, several centuries ago. The main branch of the Hyuga clan was killed off, leaving no heir or head clan. The section of the branch family squabbled through the right of becoming the new main house, eventually settled the dispute by each section competing in a competition. From what I remember, the other families thought that the others cheated in some way. So, in order to secure their position as a new main head, they placed a birdcage seal on the other families. I have been disgusted and disappointed with my descendants ever since, Naruto said. You did try to help them, didn't you? Minato asked. I did. But unfortunately, my attempt didn't succeed in the slightest, instead getting the opposite reaction. First, I tried to convince the main house that the way they were acting was barbaric, but because I was disguised, they ignored me. For my second attempt, I approached them without a disguise and introduced myself as their ancestor, as Naruto sighed. But since it was the only original main house that knew of my existence, and they died without passing it on, the other members thought that I was a rouge after I came back after some time, thinking that I was some kind of branch member and tried to place a seal on me. Minato raised his eyebrow in disbelief, as he couldn't imagine his father's reaction to such a thing. Naturally, I didn't take too kindly to this, and rendered all of them unconscious. This then led me to attempt number 3, Naruto said. I tried to remove all of the seals from the branch members, and that was a worse attempt. When I removed that, all of the anger that the branch members feel, all of it came to the surface as they realized the main house could not stop them if they pushed forward, so they slaughtered each and every member, only leaving the children behind. While the children were placed back into the branch house, and another family took the main house. The children still remember what the branch did to their family, so when they got older, they started a coup as they applied the birdcage seal back to all of the branch members and forced them all to act like servants. The original birdcage seal was just meant to cause pain to the wearer, but the new one is modified. The children were really pissed that the branch members killed their family, so this one can kill them within an instant if they try to revolt against them. And like that, the whole thing restarted, as I left angry and disappointed in my descendants. After a second, birdcage seal was applied. Didn't you realize that the branch house will feel angry and wish vengeance? Minato asked. I knew that they were angry, and I knew that violence would most likely be the result if I removed them. But I found that I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do I release them, knowing that they might attack the main house, or do I leave them as servants for the rest of their life, including their children's or even their grandchildren's life? There was no right answer there and then, and I chose what I thought would have ended all of the incident. It obviously didn't work, Naruto said. Have you ever think about taking out the seal manually again, or approaching them without a disguise, Minato asked. I have considered to try and do it, but I have decided not to do either. Seeing that my involvement won't solve anything, so I decided to wait. Wait, said Minato. Wait for what? He asked. For someone inside the main house who feel the same way I do, Naruto explained. Only someone from the main house can repair the bridges between the branch and the main house. You mean not even one member of the main house has thought to remove their cage bird seal for centuries? Minato asked. The Hyuga clan is very strict and traditional, as they had kept this tradition for years. Many years, and none of them had think to try and quell the argument and remove the birdcage seal, Naruto explained. Now, what would the outcomes of not going be? Naruto asked, as he knew there would be some repercussion if you decide to reject the Hyuga clan invitation, especially for no reason. They would find it very insulting. You would find yourself unable to rely on any Hyuga assistance for anything, and it would make my business with them a bit strained, but nothing too bad. On the other hand, if you do go, you will be socializing and talking to new people, and Koshi would be happy to see his grandfather, which he wouldn't want to see if his dad managed to make it home more often, Naruto said, as Minato winced at the shot directed back to him, as he couldn't deny it. As he got older, Koshi realized that his father hardly was home. He usually get in around the time that Koshi was sleeping. Due to this, there wasn't much interaction between the both of them, at least in Naruto's opinion. Because of the lack of his father, Koshi was lashing to his grandfather instead. He still loved his father and always tried to stay up to greet him when he's come home, but he always eventually fall asleep. Point conceded, Minato said, as he then moved on. Look Dad, I know you don't have a lot of reason for attend, but I would like it if you'd go with peace of mind for me. You expect that the Hyugas might not welcome you with open arms. Minato shook his head to dispel that theory. For the week of the party, Akumo Shinobi will be visiting Konoha to sign a treaty. And you don't believe that this will pass without an incident? Naruto asked, as he saw the look on his son's face. As Minato nodded, this treaty isn't really peace between Konoha and Kumo, but is a neutrality. Kumo offered it some weeks ago, just out of the blue like that, and I cannot wonder but thinking, why? Do you have any theories? Asked Naruto. Kumo attempted to kidnap Kushina years ago. This could be another attempt, or some other attempt to find out about Konoha, resources and structure. It could be a number of things. Naruto leaned back as he folded his arms, as he thought about what his son was saying. What about the envoys that have guarded Kushina as well as Koji? Naruto asked. They won't be there. The Hyuga pride themselves on their Byakugan. They're all seeing eye. Having the envoy there would be an insult to them. Considering that is the event that I was invited to, showing up with armed guards isn't a good look. Fine, said Naruto. I'll go to the stupid party. As Minato smiled, but this time, said Naruto, I'll expect a favor that I'll be able to call in return. Minato blinked at the request. I am not a charity case, Minato, and I cannot be your solution to every problem that Konoha has. You want me to be your extra security, then you must offer me something, a blank favor. As Minato was startled at his father requiring some kind of payment for his service, but he quickly regained his composure. If that is what you want, then you will have it. But if you ask for something that interfered with my duty as a Hokage, I know that. I am not stupid enough to ask for something that would interfere with your work, Minato. Well, know that is taken care of. What time do you wish for the four of us to meet? Naruto asked. Well, I'll be meeting with the diplomat for the majority of the day and don't know what time I'll be getting off, as Minato saw the irritated look on Naruto's face. But I should be able to leave by 7, at the latest, he said. What time does it start? Naruto asked. At 3, said Minato, as Naruto sighed as he shook his head. Time skip. Naruto and Koji and Kushina arrived, as Naruto felt pure disgust the moment he got there, as he saw the branch members as they were security. as he realized they were not the first one to get there. Other families were there with their children as well. As people approached himself and Kushina, as two Hyuga approached them. As Naruto saw their unmarked foreheads, most likely the current clan head and his wife, Naruto guessed, from their dressing. As he noticed the woman was slightly familiar. As Naruto saw the small girl with dark blue hair who clung to the back of her mother's leg. He told me, said Kushina, as she hugged her with one arm, seeing that she was holding Koji. As she then turned, Hayashi, she greeted. Kushina, said Hayashi, as Naruto remembered that the both of them did not like each other. It was something involving ramen, if you remember correctly. And who is this? Said Kushina, as she looked toward the small girl that clung to her friend's leg. Is this the birthday girl? As a child blushed red and hid behind her mother's leg. As Hitomi giggled and then bent down. Don't be shy, Hinata. You've met Kushina and Koji before. Hi, Hinata, said Koji with a bright smile, waving from his mother's arm. Hello, said Hinata, as she went and hid behind her mother's leg again. As Kushina turned towards Naruto, Naruto, you're making her nervous. Introduce yourself. As Naruto glanced at her, he didn't see how it was his fault, but he was in no mood to argue. Hayashi-san, Hitomi-san, thank you for inviting me to your daughter's celebration party. As Naruto gave a small bow, my name is Naruto, as Hayashi simply nodded, and Hitomi smiled. I meant to meet Hinata, said Kushina to Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you again, Naruto, said Hitomi, but please simply call me Hitomi. As she then tried to push Hinata from behind her leg. And this is Hinata. Greet Naruto, said Hitomi, as Hinata stepped forward as her cheeks were red. Hey, hello Naruto-san, she said, as she ran behind her mother once she finished speaking. As Hitomi, just smile. Please enjoy yourself while you're here, said Hayashi. Hokage-sama is going to be arriving later, said Kushina. Anyway, Hitomi, is there somewhere that the children are playing? Follow me, Kushina, said Hitomi. As they went off, leaving Hayashi and Naruto behind. Naruto-san, said Hayashi, as Naruto turned back to him, as Naruto had been looking around the room at all the people. The adults here, who have connection with the children, have all volunteered to spend time watching them through tonight's proceedings. I was wondering if you would be willing to assist us doing so. Call me Naruto, Hayashi, and I'll be happy to volunteer. Hayashi nodded. Now please, enjoy yourself, he said, as he turned and walked away. For a few moments Naruto stood there, as he wasn't sure what to do. He couldn't remember the last time that he had been in this situation. Thankfully, some kind of god seemed to be watching over him, as someone came up from behind him. Naruto, as Naruto recognized a voice. As he turned around, Hiruzen, he greeted. I didn't think that you would be here. I thought that this was a formal party for the Hyuga heir. Why would you attend? Despite being a birthday celebration, the Hyuga has still used this to increase their influence. What better way to say that than by inviting the former Hokage? And I had nothing better to do, so I decided to come. But what made you decide to attend, Naruto? As I understand, these things aren't for you. Minato convinced me, said Naruto, as Hiruzen smiled. Did he show you his doe eyes, Naruto? No, he didn't, said Naruto, as Hiruzen chuckled. I'm only joking, Naruto, only joking. Come with me, Naruto. I'm sure you can use something to drink, said Hiruzen. Naruto didn't say anything as he just followed behind him. As Naruto got a water, as Hiruzen took up some drink that Naruto didn't recognize. It seemed like a lot more alcohol has been created over the centuries, and Naruto wasn't really fond of it anymore. Hiruzen, said Naruto, as he wanted to ask this question. How did you manage your family while acting as Hokage? What does make you ask this? Something that has to do with Minato, I presume. I don't think that Minato is ready for the task of being a parent. And what makes you think so? Asked Hiruzen. Let me rephrase that. I don't think that Minato understands how to be a proper parent. I talked to him to spend some time with Kushina and Koji, but he waves me off. Perhaps it's just me, but I'm worried about Minato's relationship with Koji. You're worried that his relationship with his son might turn into yours and his, said Sarutobi. As Naruto shook his head, not to that extreme. But yes, I'm worried. Is there anything I can do to prevent all of this from happening? Naruto asks. I see much of myself in Minato, Hiruzen said. Back in my youth, I had the same dedication to the village. That changed quickly though when I had my first child, as Baiwako barged into my office demanding that I leave a shadow clone behind to finish my work as we had dinner. Despite that wonderful night the next day, I was worried, wondering what happened while I was away. But when I checked back, everything was perfectly fine. It was at that moment I realized my respect for my position had twisted itself for me to believe that I only had the village. I had my family, I had my wife. And I realized I had hundreds, thousands of people helping me in protecting Konoha. So the little I can do, the most I can do is spend some time with my children and my wife. From that day forward, I would leave a clone, either go home or spend some time at the park with my child. As Naruto was thinking, Minato can be going through the same thing, or probably it was different for him. Thank you, Hiruzen. You've given me much to think about. There's a moment of silence between the two men. As Naruto then spoke, I understand that. You greeted the Kumo shinobi that arrived today, along with Minato. How did that pan out? Naruto asked. As well as it should have. I don't know if it's paranoia or my instincts, but something doesn't feel right. What exactly makes you nervous? Naruto asked. A few things to be exact, said Hiruzen, as his voice became quieter to not be overheard. They have brought too many strong shinobis to the village, all of them in Jonin level, and seeing that this is a peace treaty, things shouldn't be so tense, said Hiruzen. We have not yet called them on it, and they have said nothing about their party of shinobis, so it believed me to think that something's up. So kick them out on the grounds of village security, fake something, so if it bother you that much, Naruto said. Without reason for doing so, Konoha Diplomatic will take a huge downfall of kicking them out like that without having no particular reason, Hiruzen said. But we have informed the Kumo shinobis that they will have to leave by tomorrow at the latest, in the afternoon. They tried to protest about being have to leave, but Minato was able to bluff them with several security drill that will be commencing tomorrow. Hearing that, Naruto nodded. Force them to abandon any kind of plan that they have, or force them to do it on your schedule. That's a smart move, Naruto said. They are being watched all times in the village, and to the point that they leave the fire border. Anything else? Naruto asked. Anything that is suspicious or led you to believe that they aren't here for the right reason? Hiruzen's eyes shift around the room, scanning everyone, as he then turned his body and faced Naruto, talking in a much quieter tone. There was an infiltration of Taki recently. A group of shinobi managed to enter and sneak into the village hall. Off records, the guards only discovered the group as they were leaving. Nothing was taken but the records regarding their most recent missions were rummaged through. You believe it was Kumo? Naruto asked. Perhaps it was, said Hiruzen. And perhaps it wasn't, but only after a week after the break-in, Kumo approached us with a treaty for peace from nowhere. I found it extremely suspicious. And Kumo went into a lockdown a month ago. Minato haven't even received a message from Minato in this month, which is worrying. All of this point to Kumo plotting something, said Hiruzen. That this treaty is just a sham. Their presence in the village would not contribute to the good fortune of Konoha. That is as much as I know. Naruto frowned as a thought came to him. Could they be after Koji? He said. It could be possible, said Hiruzen. Out of the great 5 villages, as far as I am aware, Kumo has the least amount of Kekkei Genkai users. Koji is a potential wielder of Swift Release and is vulnerable as a child. This could be an attempt to gain a bloodline. However, we heard no such plans from Jiraiya or any other sources. As Naruto was enraged, how could they come to Konoha to try and kidnap Koji? As he quickly calmed himself, as Hiruzen had said, there was no such plot, but if they were, they would have wished that they never come here. You shouldn't worry about things like this, Naruto, Hiruzen said. Or, at the very least, not now. The delegation from Kumo is being watched. There's not much that can be done until they make their move. Naruto released a short breath. You're right, but that doesn't make it easier knowing that there could be a threat to my grandson or my son within walking distance. As Sarutobi said nothing about that. As he skipped the conversation, I think it's time for you to interact with some of the people, he said. As Naruto turned to see many of the people looking at him. As he sighed. As he looked around, many of them really wanted to talk to him. 3 hours later, it was Naruto's time to watch the children, as it was a relief then to talk around those people, especially the most of the fat, wealthy merchants, who is talking about how good their business and all of that is going, when Naruto didn't even care the slightest. Hiruzen had ditched him about half an hour ago, using some excuse to get some drinks, and he hasn't been back since. He spotted Hitomi and Kushina and Mikoto speaking. He thought about walking over, but he decided to not interrupt Kushina's conversation with her friends. As Naruto was approached by a man with a lazy look on his face, he was the one who brought Anko to the office today when they had her seal removed. Naruto-san, I'm here to tell you that it's now your turn to watch the children. As he spoke in a slow tone, as to him it was like speaking was also tiresome. Very well, Shikaku-sama, said Naruto, as Shikaku gestured to the room. Once he was outside, all the noise was gone, as a lot of people had arrived and the place was a lot more noisier. As Shikaku was leading Naruto to the room, where all of the kids were. You won't have to worry too much about watching the children, said Shikaku as they walked. There are a few older children there. Feel free to take a nap. I did. They can watch over the younger ones. But there are still children. Sleeping while watching children, said Naruto. True, Naruto-san. That's true. That is why I nap with one eye open. And also, call me Shikaku. Only if you do the same for me, Naruto said, as Shikaku nodded. You're a hard man to approach, Naruto, said Shikaku. I tried to organize some time for two of us to get to know each other by playing a game of shogi. And for what reason you would like to get to know me better, Shikaku? As Shikaku stopped walking, as Naruto did the same. I was hoping that you would be able to clear up something for me, said Shikaku, as Naruto realized they were nowhere near the children. They were going the wrong way. As Shikaku spoke again, regarding to some rumors that I heard that give you the ability to manipulate pure chakra. I don't know where you hear such things, but Naruto was cut off. How about we drop the pleasantries, Naruto, Shikaku said, as his tone completely changed. There is more to you than meets the eye. That I can tell, but what I want to know is how much of you I cannot see that is a threat to Konoha. As Naruto narrowed his eyes at the tone, as they were away from the party and the children, but Naruto could still sense several chakra signature, as two was on the roof above them. And Shikaku was really tense. He was on his toes, ready to fight if need be. As Naruto saw Shikaku's shadow, it was moving so slightly towards his own. But Naruto wasn't looking to start a fight. I fail to see why I have to tell you anything, Shikaku. My secrets are my own, just as your clan's secrets are yours to divulge. Please respect my privacy in that area. I will respect that privacy when I can make sure your secrets don't bring harm to Konoha in any way, said Shikaku with a stoic look on his face. And you don't trust my son to do so for you. I trust Minato with my life, said Shikaku. He wouldn't be my Kage if I didn't. But he's too blind with the relationship he has with you to compromise it in any way. Myself, on the other hand, has no such restraint, said Shikaku. You don't doubt that I'm Minato's dad, but you believe I'm willing to hurt the village that my son loves so much. Maybe not directly, but just because you don't, that doesn't mean your past doesn't. You're trying to say something from my youth might come back today and haunt Konoha. I find it strange that you have the ability to remove a curse's seal, said Shikaku. Especially when you shouldn't have any knowledge to do that, haven't been a shinobi, or having any access to a large source of knowledge. As Naruto simply narrowed his eyes. I traveled the world in my youth. I merely picked it up, in case I need it. Besides, I didn't remove Anko curse seal, I only severed a part of it, from someone who was sloppy in curse seals. And I suppose the Kyuubi attacking Orochimaru suddenly be outed as a traitor Kumo poorly disguised treaty. And your ability to manipulate chakra is something that you just picked up. As Naruto was quite surprised, all of these accusations. Did this man really think that he was the fault of them? But before he could say something, Shikaku was already speaking. I know the power that a Kekkei Genkai can offer someone, but I know how draining it can be. The reserve I can sense off you are nowhere near to use your Kekkei Genkai. Even with chakra control exercises, you should only be able to use it once and then be tired. And the fight with Orochimaru was not over quickly. And would you like me to move on to your ability to manipulate raw chakra now or later, Shikaku said. During my encounter with Orochimaru, I was forced to use my ability to freely manipulate my chakra, Naruto said. However, after the incident, Minato decided that the official story would be to spread the word about my swift release. Apparently, the ability to manipulate my chakra will be highly covered by the other shinobi villages than the ability to use a Kekkei Genkai. That's quite funny, Naruto said, Shikaku, as Minato did told us you use your swift release to kill Orochimaru. Perhaps Minato decided to keep the truth concealed as possible. I am Minato's Jonin commander, Naruto. I am also one of his trusted friends, if I must say so myself. He told me the story of how he got separated from you. I know you fought off several enemy shinobi. I want to know who they were and why they were after you. As Naruto was slowly getting angry, how dare he demanded anything from him? But he settled it down as he narrowed his eyes in anger. As easy as it be, he will try to end this without bloodshed. This man was a friend of his son after all. If you know what I told my son, then you should know. I didn't know the symbols of their forehead protector. And I call bullshit. You expect me to believe that you wouldn't have searched? That you wouldn't have investigated? Shikaku questioned. A man like you with the power of his disposal and have nothing left to lose. Just seen his entire family be killed and you wouldn't search. I would have no doubt that you have tracked them down and made them pay. Anyone would have. So, what is it that you want, Shikaku? For me to admit that I hunted them down and slaughtered them to the last man? That I make sure that there was not a speck of them left on the elemental nations? Shikaku tensed at that moment as some aura was leaking from Naruto. As Naruto noticed that and calmed himself. As Shikaku regained his posture, yes, he said, I think that at some point, the original conversation of this topic was lost. So, I'll make it be known, I have no problem with you, Naruto-san. But I believe that something you haven't said yet could be a problem for Konoha. You have no right to demand anything of me. There is nothing in my past that can come back to affect Konoha in any way. That's fine, I guess. If you don't think that it will come back to affect Konoha, then I'm okay with that, he said, as he relaxed. Just like that. You will give up just like that, Naruto said. Well, I can continue if you wanted, but I don't think you want me to. As long as you realize that my secrets aren't anyone to know. Yeah, I understand, said Shikaku. Would you mind if I went to the bathroom quickly? I meant to go earlier, but... As Naruto nodded, as he knew it was an excuse to talk to the chakra signatures that were nearby. They had gone to a different roof as Shikaku was going to meet them. Are you crazy, Shikaku? Asked Inoichi. When you told us to back you up on something, I never thought that you would be interrogating Minato's father, as both Choza and Inoichi was there. You heard what I said, right? Said Shikaku. He's hiding something. And you think that you can interrogate him and force him to tell you? Said Inoichi. Coming from the one that can invade people's mind and force out secrets, that's funny. That's not fair and you know it, Shikaku, said Inoichi. I have never invaded someone's mind for my own reason. I always done it for interrogation from an enemy or training. Sorry, Inoichi, but I won't back down from this. He's hiding something. That's fine, but you don't get to invade Naruto privacy like you're attended to. Are you sure that you're not just jumping at shadows? And even if you're correct and you receive training from some major or minor village, you yourself said that he won't hurt the Hokage. And you will be lucky that Naruto doesn't report this to the Hokage, said Choza. I don't believe this. After everything you heard me say to him and what he said, you want me to just let this go, said Shikaku. And what did he admit to you, Shikaku? Inoichi asked. That he had skills a majority of the village didn't know about. So what? plenty of Jonins keep their skills hidden, especially from the Uchihas, seeing that the Sharingan could copy any jutsu. Listen to this. Ability to move at speed that ordinary ninja cannot see. Ability to mold your chakra. And you know who killed your family. What do you guys think he did? Asked Shikaku. But he said he didn't know who attacked him though, said Choza. Your entire family was killed in front of your eyes and you don't know who did it. What would you do? Asked Shikaku. Well, I would try to find out who did it, said Choza. And from what Hokage told me, after he thought his family was dead, Naruto didn't have anything to live for. He could do two things at that point, wallow in grief or track down the people that killed his family, and one can only cry for so long. This is all a theory, and if he did hunt down the village and destroy it, which village was it? That was one flaw in Shikaku's theory, as he couldn't find which village was it. Any minor or major village. Well, it could probably be a new village, one that was set up and fell apart before intelligence could gain anything about it. What do you plan to do now, Shikaku? You have no proof or fact, asked Choza. I'll do nothing about it, he said. Seeing that he didn't know which village it was, or none of those village members would come back and try to get vengeance on Konoha for what Naruto did, he had nowhere to start or begin. All he could do was put his ear to the ground and try to get any information that might come back. That's it, you went through all of this, just to drop it like that, said Inoichi, as he could get reprimand or demotion or something. Oh, I am not dropping it, I just won't pursue it this way anymore. Perhaps I'll take a different approach, as both of their sweat drop. But guys, we end this episode right here. If you want the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below and turn that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share all of your friends in social media platform and stay in tune for the rest of the what is coming your way, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But for now, I'm out. Peace.